of '98, I had to go to the Procurator Fiscal's office. And what they took, I never saw any, it was in front of a guy, right? And he said that there was a pipe at the side of the car. It wasn't attached.
A hose pipe?
A hose pipe.
It was just sort of on the ground?
It was just on the ground, but it wasn't attached
to the exhaust or through the window?
No, nothing, nothing. It was just lying on the ground. That my brother was 2.5 times over the limit, you know, with alcohol, and they suspected that he'd taken his own life. That's what I was told.
This is what the police told you?
Yes.
At the time?
At the time, that's what I was told.
Okay. So, let me just run through that again then. So he had a broken skull, fractured skull.
Fractured skull, yeah.
In how many places? One place?
Just the one place,
I think so, yes. It was, that wasn't terribly conclusive, that, but it was certainly quite damaged to the skull, that's for certain.
He had broken ribs.
Yes.
More than one, presumably.
Yes.
2, I believe. I think it was 2.
No, 3.
Was it 3? Was it 3?
3 broken ribs. Broken sternum.
Yes. And extensive bruising.
And extensive bruising. And the police who were party to this autopsy result, and the person who issued, the coroner who issued the death certificate, all decided that it was a suicide.
That's correct.
I think it's important that, if I may come in here, Theo, is that when we received the autopsy, I and several other people made some contacts with various medical experts, informally, has to be said, informally. And they concluded, first of all, without knowing about the motive, which Anne will tell you about in a little while, for murder, which, without mentioning that, they concluded that he had been badly beaten and thrown into the car, had whiskey poured down his throat and thrown into a burning vehicle. They also concluded that death by fire, suicide, if it was suicide, suicide by fire is very, very rare. People don't do it because it's too painful. But arson is used frequently in crime to cover up crimes and destroy evidence.
So presumably whoever, and assuming that this was a crime, whoever set fire to the car thought that they would probably destroy the body?
Yes, yes, and perhaps other evidence, fingerprints, etc.
But they were unfortunate in that respect that the body was survived to the extent that it could be, well, I suppose a broken rib is a broken rib, even if it's badly
I don't think that was correct, because there was a man that actually pulled him out of the car.
So somebody was brave enough to pull him out of the burning car?
Right. Well, that's what we thought at the time, yes. And he got an award as well.
So what are you implying then?
Well, Robert has...
Yes, I think I will say this perfectly. I believe that he was a man, I have reason to believe that he was directly involved in the murder of Roy Greig. And I have given his name to the police, who apparently seem to have done nothing about it.
Why would he bother pulling him out of the car?
Well,
if he was involved in the murder, I mean, what difference would it make?
Well, I think it was there to actually look at, to make sure that there was no real suspicion of murder. I think that was more than anything else. And the evidence that the person gave, and I haven't had the full evidence on this, I was very suspicious about the fact he was being there. It was said that the reason he came to be at this car, which is on a little side road, which Anne knows, I don't know.
What, the witness came to be there?
No, the person who pulled him out the car claimed that he was not even on that road, and Anne knows geographically the area very well, but he happened to see burning and smoke and went to investigate. But he wasn't on the same road, he was on a fast main road.
To let you understand, it's the old Peterhead Road, right?
Okay.
But there is now a new road, a motorway, right? So the old road just runs like a dead end, you know. That, you know,
it's actually blocked off, is it?
It's blocked off now, but it's still access, because there's still some houses up there, and you can get down to the beach and stuff.
But no one goes on the beach in Aberdeen.
No,
and I think
and not at that time of night either. And not on the 17th of November, because it was a noted night.
That's right. I think there's something also very important about the evidence given by the alleged rescuer that the police should have picked up on straight away, quite apart from the fact that the unlikeliness of someone committing suicide by fire. And that is this, that let's just say you're on a particular road, a fast road driving along, and you happen to see a motorway, and there's fire and smoke, not on the road, your road, but on another road. You can't see a vehicle, you don't know where the fire's come from. Now, in order to see that clearly, you would want to think that it was a clear night, wouldn't you? It's in November, a dark night, obviously. It would have to be a still night to see that. But the 17th of November, 1997, was not one of those nights. It was one of the worst nights for rain and wind in meteorological history on the northeast coast of Scotland. So can you imagine driving along a fast motorway and seeing flames and smoke on a night like this, when you probably, I'm sure everybody who's driven in those conditions.
It was November the what?
17th.
1997.
I was just thinking about Go For It tonight, but it's
No.
too late for that.
No. And not only that, there's a motorway, right? And he was at the opposite side of the motorway.
Well, it's not impossible, is it?
Right? And he had to drive right along to the end of the motorway, which was a good couple of miles. Then he had to double back, come back again, drive down, and then go into the opening to come round, and then...
Did he call the police, this person? Or the fire brigade?
I don't know. I don't know.
Because it's interesting, isn't it, whether he was kind of caught there by the ambulance, and then he said, oh, I was trying to save him, and... or whether, you know...
There is another interesting part of this as well. Now, in order to get a bravery award, which you got from the Royal Humane Society, one would have to have a witness. Now, if any of us did anything brave and nobody saw us, it's highly unlikely we'd get an award for it, wasn't it?
Well, I don't know. Perhaps the witness was the ambulance, or...
Well, possibly, but you need another independent witness. That would be too late by that time, by the time we got there. So you wouldn't have known what that person did. You know, they'd only have to take our word for it whether we tried to pull the person out.
I think we're probably going a bit off track here.
Not necessarily. What happened was that I thought that in order for him to get that award, there had to be another witness.
OK, so you talked to the Humane Society.
They wouldn't give me any information. I followed it up, and I have reason to believe since that there was another individual who turned up at the scene, not as part of the emergency group, but an off-duty nurse, I'm given to understand. We've been refused consistently the identity of this person.
Why would it be a secret?
I don't know. Well, that's what we want to know.
Well, if anybody's working for
There's no point in keeping it a
what's
secret.
the name of the society?
Royal Humane Society.
If anyone's working for the Royal Humane Society who's watching this show, get in your archives and contact Robert Green. You can contact him through edgemediatv.com if you'd like.
In fairness, just I won't go on too much on this, Leo. I did contact the Royal Humane Society, and they told me that their archive material was transferred to one of the main archive centres in London.
What, is it Kew?
Yes, I think that's the one. I approached them, and they refused to let me see the documents. They said I could come. They wouldn't send me anything. I could come there, but there were certain documents that they wouldn't show me. Why the secrecy? I really don't know.
It's totally bizarre, isn't it?
I guess they would talk about perhaps data protection, this kind of thing. Perhaps that is a reason for that, but it does seem very, very strange.
It certainly does.
But it's also
okay, well, let's talk about...
Tell me about your... when you mentioned it at the police station.
Yes, I will say this again. When I was originally arrested, and I'd like to make a little short statement.
We're going to get to that in the last part
but this
of the
is
show.
important. This is important for the same part of the story.
Okay.
When I was being interviewed by the police the first time I was arrested on the 12th of February this year, the officer, when we were partway through the interview, the officer asked me for which emails address I used. I gave him the one I usually use, and one I use very rarely. And I happened to mention that the one that I use very rarely was the one I used to contact the person I believe was involved in the murder of Roy Greig. The officer looked a little bit puzzled by that, as well he might, and I gave him the name, where the person lived, and the firm he worked for in his position. I expected him to, he said, you've spoken to him, you've contacted him? I said, yes, I have. I expected a supplementary question, like, what did you say to him? But it never came. Instead moved on to the next question. When I got back home and received a transcript of this, that particular part was missing from the transcript. I was told by the officer since that it's allowable under Scottish law that when you have a taped interview, the police or the Crown Office can decide what is salient and what isn't. It's curious that they regard this as not being salient, a killer on the loose, basically, but that's not important. Me sort of handing out leaflets was serious in their eyes.
Okay, well, let's look at